begin with, namaste. It's such a pleasure to be part of the Home for Humanity family. Thank you for welcoming us. Well, my past, I think my engagement with social issues comes from college days, where we had a group of people, and at that time Paulo Freire was just coming into the scene, and we had read Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and that inspired us a great deal. And we started working with Dalits in villages in outside Chennai, and took up their issues. So that was the start. And later on I worked at the Paulo Freire Institute in Paris. I was eventually the international coordinator. And there we worked with groups from all over the world, mainly on social justice issues, on how communities, small communities, could organize themselves and eke out a measure of justice in contexts which were rigid and which was difficult for them to deal with. So, and over the years, I also got very interested in spirituality. Buddhism came first, and then aspects of Hinduism like Kashmiri Shaivism. And Buddhism is a kind of secular spirituality. There's no God in Buddhism, which is also appealing to a lot of people in the modern world. And Kashmiri Shaivism is also a kind of, talks about a universal consciousness. So a universal consciousness which is just, which is compassionate. I often think of the two approaches to spirituality. One which is vertical, where you think of you and your salvation, you and your moksha, as moksha is salvation. So that's vertical. You're just thinking of yourself. The other is horizontal, which is the Gandhian approach, where your spirituality is connected with the lives of other people, and particularly with the lives of the poor and the excluded. And when it's horizontal spirituality, you're also close to the earth. You include the earth, and the earth also concerns you. And today that is a big challenge, what we are doing to the earth. So this is, my background. And now it's 40 years that we started Pipal Tree, and the ashram here is now 24 years old. So I've been living here for the last 24 years.
And tell us please, Siddhartha, how is this ashram, how is Fireflies Pipal Tree a manifestation of your vertical spirituality and your social activism?
Well, Pipal Tree and Fireflies are mainly in what I would call the horizontal mode, the horizontal spiritual mode. There are two areas that we are deeply involved in. One is climate action, and in climate action we are in a big way promoting millets with farmers in the state of Karnataka, and we played a big role to get the government to introduce millets into the public distribution system. The public distribution system is the ration card system for the poor, where they get rice and wheat, and millets were not included. So after our intervention, the government also introduced millets into the public distribution system, and something like 2 million farmers benefited because the government started buying millets from these farmers. Millets are important in the context of climate change, because 1 kilo of rice or wheat needs 5,000 liters of water to grow, 1 kilo. Whereas millets require roughly about 500 liters. So it requires 1/10 of the amount of water. And much of India is dry, where there isn't much water. So millets are very important. And millets are also 3 to 5 times more nutritious than rice or wheat. So for the poor, it's an important food. And over the last few decades, even the poor have been gravitating towards rice and wheat, because there's a feeling that this is you have a higher status if you eat rice and wheat. So we are trying to create the consciousness to go back to millets, produce more millets, and see millets as a food sovereignty crop in the context of climate change. So apart from that, we work with local government bodies called panchayats, restoring lakes, desilting them. The lakes are full of earth which has swept in over the years. So remove 4 or 5 feet of earth from these lakes, plant trees in the villages, and create awareness among farmers, among school teachers on climate issues.
You do work a lot also with the original people of Bharat, the Adivasi. Please tell us a bit why and how.
Well, the Adivasis or the tribals, we work with many of them who continue to live in the forest, whose lives are difficult because the forest department does not give them too many possibilities. They are seen as people whom the forest department would like to get out of the forest, although they've been living there for thousands of years. So we work with them to see if they can be given some land rights. After all, they've been living in the forest, they've been cultivating land, but they have no legal rights. So we have been struggling to see that their rights are given, and each family gets 3 to 5 acres of land. Then we have a hostel for girl children from the forest who can't go to school. So they stay with us and go to the government school nearby. That's outside the forest. We, as I mentioned earlier, also work with women farmers. We call them millet sisters to promote millets. And all the women we work with, they all set up small kitchen gardens so that, vegetables are expensive, and these kitchen gardens help them to improve their nutrition, and sometimes they're even able to sell a few vegetables in the market.
What's quite remarkable is while you're so deeply engaged on these very concrete issues of the millets for nutrition and climate change, working with the tribals, etc., you still have such a deep cultural approach, and even the Fireflies is called an intercultural centre. You work so deeply on the intercommunal approach, and you integrate spirituality, a secular, social activist spirituality, which is quite rare for many activist groups. They are focused on climate change or focused on social justice, but you seem to have a very holistic, a 360 degrees, multi-dimensional approach.
It's not an easy task. It's a huge task because a lot of people are polarized in the country, and we need to start a dialogue to see that the values of the Constitution, which stand for pluralism, which stand for secularism, which stand for equality, that these values are respected. So we work with people, with religious leaders, even with people who are political leaders in the country, to sensitize them to the importance of dialogue, to the importance of solving problems through dialogue. For Gandhi, the opponent was an opponent, an adversary. He was not an enemy. So we also try to see it in that sense, that even if there is somebody with whom we disagree completely, we don't see the person as an enemy, but as somebody we can dialogue with. And dialogue opens the way of, again, what Gandhi would see as honorable compromise. Little compromises that you make, and incrementally you can keep increasing possibilities. Yeah, we have many statues here at Fireflies, granite statues. They take a long time to make, and they all have social and ecological themes around it. And some of these statues are religious figures with social and ecological meanings. So right now we may be the only place with the largest number of contemporary granite sculptures in India. When we started Fireflies, this was just an arid hill. There were no trees. It was not cultivable because, there was no water here. But now it's become a small forest. And some of the trees we planted, others came up by themselves.
And Siddhartha, you've talked about your inner home. You've talked about the home Fireflies that you have created here, the ashram, and how you serve your homeland. Could you go and share with us on a planetary level, how do you see us transforming our divided world into a home for humanity and all of life?
Well, there are hundreds of organizations like ours, hundreds of fireflies all over the world, even thousands. And we are in touch with some of them. And there are, fortunately, organizations or networks like Home for Humanity, which is able to connect with all these different efforts all over the world. So I think what Home for Humanity is doing is very important, connecting people, putting them in touch, and thereby increasing understanding, increasing motivation, increasing the possibilities of action, increasing the possibility of policy changes with government. So I think this is very positive that all over the world you have groups and organizations and movements, and very importantly you have Home for Humanity connecting all these different groups and movements.
Thank you, Rama and Alexander, and Home for Humanity. I think it's a blessing to be part of this truly planetary force, and we are looking forward to being a part of this family, contributing as best as we can, and really seeing the kind of future we can give birth to together collectively. Thank you.
Thank you.